This house that I'm about to show you looks like it was designed by an architecture student and then built. I'm not saying this to be edgy or funny. I'm literally saying this because I took a look at this project, I went through it, and when I was done, I thought to myself, this looks like a house that was built by an architecture student. Let's go through the project, show you what I mean. Let's talk about the concept. Let's break everything down. Then you guys decide if you agree with me or if I'm just crazy. Now, this house is located in Yokohama, Japan, and the lead architect is Hironobu Hosaka. It's very possible that I just mispronounced that, and if I did, then I apologize sincerely. Now, right off the bat, this is the facade. Nothing crazy going on. You have a window top right. Seems like there's another window behind it, and then you have a carport with a light well. Nothing crazy, and this is not the reason why I thought this was an architecture student's design. As a matter of fact, when I look at this, I'm like, okay, something crazy is about to go down inside. All right, next picture, we're still outside. Now we're standing in the carport. On the right side is where the first picture was taken from. And then on the left, we have the carport with that light well. And as I suspected, things are starting to get a little bit interesting. We have this light well here that honestly is a beautiful expression. You're seeing this. I don't understand the poetics too much in the sense of because when you see a project like this, you're like, it's not really about the architecture on its own. It's more about the expression that the architecture is creating. And I see this and I know there's a meaning behind it. I just don't fully understand it yet. So let's continue. Now we're in here and I'm like, okay, this is starting to look somewhat interesting. Very white, very plain. I see a handrail here that is more distracting than it should be. A courtyard and nothing else is really going on. Nothing crazy. The change of flooring here is not different enough to like proclaim anything, but it's different enough to become distracting. So if I'm honest, looking at this picture, it doesn't really look architectural. It looks like a Zillow picture at this moment in time. This here is the most interesting thing that this image has to offer, because this just looks like a clerestory window and the courtyard looks like a nice thing. Like, I'm still curious at this point. I'm like, okay, we're kind of getting into it, but nothing crazy has happened. In the next picture, that's where things start to kind of like derail a little bit for me, because although this is extremely beautiful and there's a lot of potential in what's going on with this courtyard atrium thing, I'm just completely turned off by this. I'm looking at what seems to be a kitchen and living room or dining area that makes zero sense to me, because if this is supposed to be a house, then this is not really a usable space, because I have this over here, which at first I thought was some sort of like HVAC chase, right? Like area for HVAC, but actually no, that's all storage. So I'm thinking I'd have like some sort of couch here and maybe like books or some sort of media, some sort of entertainment, and then my kitchen, and that's it. Nothing else. Like this doesn't really do much else. We have this area, which is completely unidentifiable in the plan. Actually, we'll go through the plan in a bit together and we'll see if we can find out where this is. But this looks like it's a closet space. This doesn't look like an egress door. It just looks like maybe a closet space of some sort, which the detailing is not looking great. Or not the detailing, but the craftsmanship of how they built this. You see, it just doesn't look really nice. And the view's not all that great either. Nothing else happening here. You can see that this is an extreme contrast to what's going on outside, you know, with the neighbors. I really wonder how the neighbors feel about this. And then here we are at that one space. So before we were standing here looking at the kitchen, now we have a better picture of what's going on. There's that rail that's honestly completely distracting. And then there's this window that allows you to just peek over at the neighbor's tile, which is really not even that great. So just by pictures, right? The pictures that they decided to upload, we're not really seeing anything incredible here. We're honestly seeing what looks like mistakes. Like they just placed this window there because it looked good in the model. But when you look at it, you're not really staring at anything. There's always the benefit of the doubt that I like to offer, that perhaps there was more of a smarter reason why they did certain things like this. Whether it's for sunlight to enter at specific times, maybe they were trying to solve some sort of climate issue within the I really don't know. I'm trying to make things up here, but I there's the benefit of the doubt that there's a reason why they did this. It's very smart, so smart that, you know, my small little brain cannot comprehend it. And if that's the case, then please just include some diagrams. Like, I would love to look at some sections or something that show why this window's there, looking at this tile at this specific time. Like, what is going on here? Because otherwise, it's really not that impressive. The kitchen, you know, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's not the worst kitchen that I've seen, but it's not. There's nothing about it. Like, I'm basically going to be standing looking at, you know, that wall while I'm washing dishes. Like, you notice that architects tend to offer some sort of like view or something while you're washing dishes. So when you're doing that mundane task, at least you have something to look at. But here, you just have roofing. That's it. Now, this becomes one of the most interesting images that we've seen so far. And, you know, we see a courtyard. The courtyard, here's the kitchen again. And things are working a little bit better, architecturally speaking. But really, what is the point of this? It's just a light well. There's nothing interesting here. No interesting programming, no vegetation. We just see a bathroom. Now, arguably, you could say that they didn't add vegetation because they wanted the architecture to speak here, but then you're not hiding the plumbing fixtures. And I gotta admit, like, these here are very beautiful. These are traps. I forget what they're called. They're not your standard P traps. Man, it would be so cool if I could just remember what these are called on the spot like that. But these are very elegant, but arguably you're placing this large window here to showcase this fixture, which is not interesting at all. And then we're on the opposite side of where we were just at in the bathroom, which, to be honest with you, is starting to look like an insane asylum or a prison. Like, this is your prison courtyard where you throw the little tennis ball at for hours on. And then you have these fixtures which come out of the wall, which are not modern at all. It's like this clash of like modern vanity with standard like hose bib. I'm honestly at a loss of words here. And again, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. It's just, it looks like an unfinished thought. It looks like they ran with whatever their initial ideas were. They didn't think twice about anything. And this is what you have. I don't know where this space is, but this is starting to work a little bit better. But then you have this hardware here, this like, you know, school gymnasium hardware that just distracts from everything else that this is starting to kind of get right. Like, you have some beautiful expressions here of light, and then you have this door. And here we are with that courtyard again. Again, you know, this courtyard on its own is beautiful. If you have this as part of your house, it's very interesting, but it just doesn't work right, in my opinion. And then, you know, we have the stairs again looking down into the carport. No big deal. This is, of course, this is beautiful. You look at this and this is an extremely beautiful detail to have in a home. But really at this point, like, what's the point of it? You know, more of this, it's fine. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's, you know, I'm still at a loss for words. And then the courtyard has like a little light. So there's no really saving grace, in my opinion. When we take a look at the plan, you know, we understand that we have this carport here. We walk up, and these are the little doors for what I assume is storage. I mentioned it being HVAC, but I think it for sure is storage. And then you have your kitchen island, you have your atrium, you have the bathroom that I mentioned looked like an insane asylum, some storage, walk-in closet, nothing too crazy. The second floor starts to get a little bit better. So right here from the kitchen, you walk up and then you come around and you face a wall. Like, what this, in my opinion, would have been such a great moment to place this light garden over here instead of having the child room, because you're walking up and you're facing a wall and then you're like in this tight little hallway. Like, where do I go? When you could have had a moment to have the person walk into a light well. So the way that it is, you walk in and then you're kind of tucked into this hallway. You turn around, there's like a bigger hall, you have some breathing room into a light well that really doesn't do much. And then you have your roof, which is not occupiable. It's just, you know, your space where you have all these atrium lights and everything. And that's it. So let's now talk about some of the concepts from the actual architects themselves. So we have 8 light gardens, 3 top lights, and 4 high side lights create a rich interior space. I completely beg to differ. Manipulating the purity of flowing air with meticulous and delicate detailing. I don't see meticulous and delicate detailing. I see someone that took a cube and started punching holes out of it with no thought of what's outside and just running with it. We designed the shading of light and shadow in the room by eliminating side and hanging walls. 8 light gardens were scattered throughout the site to maximize the site's potential, and consideration was given to guiding the necessary amount of light into the adjacent interior space. So here we're not talking about views, we're talking about light. Lots of light entering the space. I agree with that. That was their concept. They succeeded. I can't argue with that. This next sentence, I don't understand what it means. The wooden feel is achieved by focusing on the thickness of the walls, adopting W walls at key points, and designing openings in the W walls to create a sense of depth in the frame. I have succeeded in erasing it. I don't know what it's referring to. Again, a diagram calling out what you're talking about would have been needed like at this moment. I need this right now. By designing the 3 top lights at key points that are functionally necessary, each private room has a space with minimal openings to the neighboring property, ensuring privacy. So let's go to the plan real quick. So here we are, we have the lights that they're talking about, and they show the rooms having, you know, all the light coming into the space. So if you take a look at this child room, you have all the light that it needs through this window and this window while maintaining privacy. Then you have your master bedroom, which does the same thing because your light is coming in from this light garden. So you have a small window to your neighboring property. So, the concept is spot on where their focus is privacy. So when you take a look at this house, the concept here, the goal was privacy. This person wanted this architect wanted the owners, the end user of the space, to feel like they can walk around their property without having their neighbors invade their privacy. So they're a very reserved person. And it's good to know this because as I'm going through this project, I tend to think, who is this project for? It's not someone like me. This house is not for someone that wants to have guests over all the time, play board games, watch movies together, hang out in their space, or do any sort of entertainment. This honestly looks like it's a space for someone that has minimal furniture, has minimal anything, and they just want to contemplate as they're walking around the house. A house for meditation. This is exactly what I see this for. But the thing is, my problem with that is that a lot of the house does that, right? I can buy that concept, and I threw in that meditation myself. The original concept mentions nothing about meditation, so I don't want to put words in their mouth. I'm just stating my opinion here. Like, I could see that if they did say that this, or if I imagine someone living in this space that is, their focus is meditation, I could buy that until I get to spaces like this. Because at that point, it's like, I don't see that anymore. I see the Zillow house again. So this house has to be for someone like that. Someone that just needs privacy, has minimal items, has minimal things, and they just want to live in peace, just walking around and relaxing through their house, taking in their thoughts instead of the architecture. And therefore the architecture is so plain because it wants to serve as a backdrop for this person to be able to, have that moment with themselves in their mind. That's honestly the only person I could see living here. So now let's talk about what my goal is with these videos, right? My goal is to showcase architecture because there's like this architecture can be a little boring. Okay, it can be a little boring. Like, I think looking at architecture is fun, but then when you see all these like shows online where that they talk about history and whatnot, it can get a little dense, and I don't think that the average person cares. So my goal with these videos are to first take projects, specifically at this moment residential, just because it's what I like to work on, and showcase them so that people who are not seeing this, these shows are not always putting like these kind of projects on and I'm not saying this one specifically, I'm just saying this kind of project. They're not putting them on, on the front page. My goal is to take these projects and kind of show them and have fun and just talk about them, really. Unfortunately, sometimes when I do this, I have to say some things that are kind of messed up or mean or, just disagreeable altogether. And my goal in saying this is, A, to state my opinion, because at the end of the day, architecture is about opinion. right? It's about what I perceive, what you perceive. I'd be honestly completely dumb to say that my opinion is the one that rules them all, right? But I do have to express it at the end of the day. If I feel like saying something about it, I'm gonna say something about it. But I don't want to make you think like my opinion is the king here. By no means is my opinion the best here. I'm basically just trying to say that the reason why I make these videos is to have some fun and learn something, because I believe we can learn something from every single project, and what we learn is personal. So I'm not trying to shove in your face what we're trying to learn. You decide what we learn from these videos. But I do want to, emphasize so much that when I do say mean things or mess up things or disagreeable things, my goal is not to hurt the designer or the homeowner, because someone's going to live in this space. And, as long as they consider this a beautiful home and it's what they wanted, then by all means, enjoy it. And same for the architect. So my goal is not to hurt anybody when I come up with these decisions. I want everybody to understand that. I'm just here showcasing projects, talking about it, trying to have some fun, trying to make some jokes here and there when they land. And most importantly, learning about architecture and experiencing architecture, right? Because we're not always in a location where we can experience unique projects like this. Because at the end of the day, this is a unique project. And I prefer a unique project like this than your typical cookie cutter home any day of the week. I'm telling you that 100%. No matter what I said in this video, I prefer this over cookie cutter any day, because this has thought into it. Even if I don't agree with everything, or even if I don't see everything that the designers saw, I prefer this. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun going through this project, honestly. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon.